Storytelling is one of the most important and crucial skills to master. That's why you clicked on this video, because you're frustrated. You're frustrated that people aren't listening carefully to what you have to say. That's why by the end of this video your stories will become 120% better and more engaging and more interesting. The first tip is to begin with the most interesting and exciting part of the story right away. For example, I spilled a cup of coffee on a beautiful girl I wanted to confess to. What I did, I gave him the core action of the story, the actual thing which happened, and then I'm going to develop around this idea. The reason we do so is because we need to hook the listener. We need to give him the reason to listen to our story in the first place. We need to give him a promise that if he stays with us till the very end, it will be rewarding for him. Rewarding in terms of emotions, experience, because when you tell the most exciting and interesting part of the story at the very beginning, a lot of different questions start to appear in the listener's head. Where did it happen? What were you doing there? What was the reaction of a girl? Etc. And now you have 15, 20, maybe 30 seconds of his undivided attention. And believe me, 25 seconds for a good story should be enough. And that's actually the next tip. Don't make your story longer than 30 seconds. You see, one of the most common mistakes of people when they're telling the stories is that they add the unnecessary details. For example, this whole thing happened in the cafeteria. There were 20-30 tables and not many people around. There was some music playing outside and I don't know, maybe it was rock or hip-hop, anything. The girl on the counter was just reading the newspaper and the girl near her was beautiful, so I decided to approach her. Then I started moving, the floor started cracking, etc. We believe that when we are adding up the details, we make the story more engaging, more real, but in reality, we're just overwhelming the brain of our companion. It doesn't matter how many tables there were in a cafeteria, moreover, you don't even need to mention that there were tables in the cafeteria because it is obvious. It doesn't matter what kind of music is playing outside, it is irrelevant. When we're mentioning something the listener thinks it is somehow important to the story, but it isn't. So what are the things you're going to say instead? The things you're going to say instead are a location, a thought, a feeling, something that helps to build this emotional connection between you and the listener. For example, I was sitting on the railway station and then I saw this beautiful girl on the other platform. The first thought in my head, there is no way I would approach her. But then I remembered what my father told me. If you don't do it right now, you will regret it for the rest of your life. So I approached her and she rejected me. But I wasn't upset about it. I was proud of myself because for the first time in my life, I decided to act regardless of fear. Play with the tempo. Change your pace frequently. Sometimes you want to talk faster to create the momentum. Sometimes you need to slow down to let a listener digest the information. And when you combine both, you create entertaining and interesting stories to listen. That's how it works on YouTube. The most engaging videos are those which combine fast and slow pacing altogether. Don't be emotionless. When you're telling the story, it's not really about the meaning behind those words, but more about your feelings. We, humans, don't understand the abstract concepts through language, but we understand human faces. That's why when you're smiling when telling a story, a listener understands that he needs to smile as well. When he sees your eyes and face expression like this, he understands he needs to be confused. Moreover, your tonality and voice, they follow your face expression, so you don't even need to think how to speak. And the final tip is to practice more, to tell more stories, to share them with other people, and if you find the stories of other people interesting, try to understand what makes them engaging. Why do you want to listen more to those stories, and then you implement the ideas to your stories. I hope this video was helpful for you. Speaking is an art in itself, and there are many topics to cover, and you can't cover all of them in a 5-minute video, so if you have any advice for those who want to become better storyteller, then make sure to write them in the comments. And for those of you who are interested in my content, subscribe to this channel and I'll be back in a second.